Right, ladies and gentlemen, to add more substance to our summit today, we are going to have one very, very interesting and intriguing panel discussion. And this is going to be chaired. We're very honored to have him here by Yang Berbahagia, Dato Dr Andy Seo, the Council Member of National Skill Development Council and Ministry of Human Resources Head Commissioner, Asian Engineers Register, Asian Federation of Engineering Organizations. Please welcome to the stage the moderator of this panel discussion, Yang Berbahagia Dato. And for the panelists, we have four very, very intriguing people, very, very profound ones. First, we have His Excellency Declan Kelly, Ambassador of Ireland to Malaysia. Next, we have Mr. Muhammad Imran Kunalan Abdullah, the Director of Talent Division, Multimedia Development Corporation, MDeC. Next, we have Ms. Carol Wong, the Chief Inspiration Officer of Genovasi. Please welcome. Last but not least, someone who cheered us up just earlier, Ms. Wendy Koo, Director of Premier Support Services of Microsoft Malaysia. Sendirian Berhad. Please, Dato.
Thank you so much, MC, for the kind invitation. Welcome, panelists. I was told that there were 5, but then I have to stand up then, all right? But anyway, I'm allowed to sit down now. I will take my seat anyway and start from there. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I have been introduced, and some of my panel members, esteemed panel members, have also been introduced, except I think for Ms Carol Wong. Okay. I will do that when, but I have just returned from Manila this morning. 3 a.m. I have to go to the airport. So I hope that you can also keep awake like what I have done. Yeah. And you had a good lunch. The lunch must be a bit heavy and the tea break. So what I want to say is that if you want to make your dreams come true, the first thing you have to do is wake up, all right? I want you to keep awake because this is our last session, very difficult, but it will be very meaningful. We have the esteemed panelists with me, and some of them have spoken early in the morning and also this afternoon. I will not introduce those that have been introduced, but I believe that Mr. Imran, you have been introduced this morning. I very briefly will introduce, maybe from my left, His Excellency himself. Don't have actually a CV from you, but oh,
don't worry, they'll find out.
They'll find it after. Okay, I hope that you will be able to introduce yourself. Excellency is the ambassador of Ireland to Malaysia. And he has a wide experience to share with us the experience of Ireland, how they managed to bring talents back from overseas back to their country and to develop Ireland. And Excellency will share that experience with us. Afterward, I will invite him to speak. Then we have Mr. Muhammad Imran. Director of Talent Division from Multimedia Corporation. Imran is the General Manager for Talent Division at MDeC. Has more than 16 years of experience in human resource practice as a HR generalist and a specialist. It's a bit You're a generalist and also a specialist. So you cover all. Right? Yeah. His HR span of experience ranges from being a HR operation practitioner to a HR consulting practice. He has a diverse HR practitioner experience from big multinational in the food and beverage industry, manufacturing, financial sector, shared services, and outsourcing service firms, as well as the ICT industry. He held senior leadership role in renowned organizations such as HSBC, British American Tobacco, and KFC, to name a few. He has assumed managing consultant roles focusing on human capital advisory services at KPMG and Accenture, providing the full spectrum of HR advisory consulting service to a myriad type of clients in both the public service sector and the private sector. He's also has obtained formal training in human capital metrics and benchmarking from PwC Saratoga Institute in the UK. In the UK, Saratoga? Oh, I thought Saratoga is in the US. He was conferred the Global HR Excellence Award 2009 by the Asia Pac HRM Congress in Bangalore, India. So I have, and of course, Carol Wong. Carol, briefly I introduce you. Chief Inspiration Officer, CIO, right? Normally we have CEO, Chief Investor, Chief Finance, now Chief Inspiration. That's very good. From Genovasi. Prior to the engagement with Unit Inovasi Khas, which is in short UNIC, and Agency Inovasi Malaysia, in short AIM, Carol was an experienced partner with Ernst & Young. She has over 23 years of business advisory experience, including complex project and change management, benchmarking studies, transformation management, market and industry studies, strategy and business planning, management and operation review for both government and private sectors. During Carol's tenure with UNIC and AIM, she has been working on several education initiatives, including introduction of the International Baccalaureate, is it? IB, yeah, it's in short, programs for implementation at our national school, development of 21st century skill, and competency frameworks for implementation. One of the key initiatives undertaken by Carol for UNIC and AIM was the establishment of Genovasi, of which she is now CEO. Genovasi is an innovative educational organization established in 2012. Its vision is to inspire, create, and empower a movement of innovators for the betterment of self, environment, and the world. Now, the final speaker, you have been introduced, right? So I will skip that. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, maybe we go straight away to our panel discussion. But before I invite His Excellency to give us a 5 minutes briefing of his experience from Ireland, I would like to ask the floor, if you have any questions and answers, please, if you would like to write it down, you can always get one of the secretary staff organizer here to bring the question up if you do not want to bring it up in the public, or if you want, afterward I'll open the floor. Please be brief and also state your name and be brief and the organization that you join. Now, Excellency, would it be possible for me to get you going first? Sure. I'll take this first.
Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I realize this is the graveyard shift, so I'll do my best not to put you into total sleep. You must be getting close to it at this stage of the day. I'm ambassador here for the last 3.5 years. I've also covered Thailand. Before I came here, I was ambassador in Canada, and I covered Jamaica and the Bahamas. Before that, I was ambassador to Australia, and I covered New Zealand and Fiji. At one stage in my career, I was chief of staff to the Prime Minister and 2 foreign ministers, and also head of press. Maybe I could just make a comment. I'm not a technical guy, and I'm not going to get into the stuff that you were really going through today. I guess you've had enough of that. But I give you an experience, I give you my sense of how important training is, in the sense that I represent my country. So people in this audience here this evening who know nothing about Ireland, I'm going to be the first human that they ever met who's going to talk about Ireland. So it's a very big load on my shoulders that I get it right. And I can tell you, over the years I've met super intelligent people from all walks of life, and some of them have left me totally cold because they have not been able to communicate what their business is about. And these are intelligent people from all spheres of life: academics, doctors, scientists, engineers, architects. And I've often thought to myself, my God, that person has to be very, very smart because they got where they are. But I've just had to engage them, or try to engage them in conversation for a few minutes, and I got absolutely nothing. I have to tell you, that leaves a very bad taste. And, you know, so it's stating the obvious, but if you're involved in training, if you're involved in training for your company, it is stating the obvious, but you know, my experience in life has been that the obvious is the thing that's often least stated. One of the first speeches I ever made, I was Consul General in California once in 1992, and I spoke to an audience of Rotarians, and I was discussing what was then a difficult situation in Northern Ireland, and I thought I gave a great speech, and I was very proud of myself when I sat down. And then, luckily enough, I decided to ask for questions. It was one of my first ever public speeches. And this American guy stood up and he asked me, how are we coping with the British troops on the streets in Dublin? And I said I really couldn't tell him because they left 60 years before that. But I realized that I had totally misjudged my audience. Totally misjudged my audience. I made a very complex speech. So what I would say to you out there who are trainers, if I may dare to say so, whatever you're doing when you're teaching something, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Decide, what do I have to explain? I have to explain this is a box. So don't start going on about squares and cubes. Tell them it's a box. Keep it simple. You know, and again, it may say it like the obvious, but the obvious is often not very obvious. Ireland today is a small country, 4.5 million people, but we've been phenomenally successful at attracting foreign direct investment. So 9 out of the top 10 ICT companies in the world are in Ireland. 14 out of the top 10 pharmaceutical companies are in Ireland. All of the born on the internet companies are in Ireland. Google has its European headquarters in Dublin, 2,500 Googlers going around Dublin every day. And we also have very strong financial services centre. So over 1,000 companies altogether. So why are they there? Well, maybe some have come for the Guinness. Maybe some have come because we're pretty nice guys and we can get on with people. But most of them are there because the bottom line is they want to make a return on their investment. Intel came to Ireland in 1989. In the last 3 years, they've invested $5.3 billion US in their plant outside of Dublin. They employ 4,500 people. Since they came in 1989, they've invested $9.3 billion. Now, those guys don't go because of any of the reasons I've just stated. But one of the things that's been phenomenally successful for us is that we have geared our education system, our universities and institutes of technology, to link in with business. We speak to the Intels, the Microsofts, we speak to the Googles, the LinkedIns, we speak to the GSKs and all of these people, and we ask them, what do you need? What type of people do you need? What kind of courses do you want? And we try and work with them. We try and work with them. Intel come into our universities, Microsoft come into our universities. That's not unique. It happens all over the world. But we started to do it about 20 odd years ago. We also retooled our education system to move away to some extent from the old traditional arts, etc., but not exclusively. I'll make an interesting point about that. But also, we moved in, we realized we had to anticipate what was coming down the track and move into the more technological education. Although I will make this point. When I was Consul General in California, I knew the man who was the number 2 in Intel. And I was talking to him one day about arts degrees, and he said, you know, we like people who have arts degrees, because in Intel, we figure if you have a good arts degree, you can learn. That's the most important thing as far as we're concerned. We just want proof that you can absorb and you can learn. And then we can teach you the Intel way. So don't knock the idea of an arts degree, which I think is an interesting comment to make in the context of a world where we're all mad to do math and science. But I have to tell you, in the end of the day, you know, if you can combine it with a bit of arts, that's a good idea too. Because I'm jumping around a bit here and using some of my hobby horses, but when you have the microphone, that's what you can do. One of the things that scares me slightly as I come towards the end of my career is the appalling lack of knowledge of history that exists in the world today. All these financial crises that have just happened, all of these geopolitical crises that happen around the world, guess what? They've all happened before, again and again and again. But yet some of these Y generation that I heard about and X generation, all the rest of it, I've got 3 kids myself and 5 grandkids, so don't think I'm not in tune. And I say to them all the time, yep, check all about that, read back 50 years, you'll find out that that happened exactly. I'm reading a book at the moment about Theodore Roosevelt, who was an amazing American president 100 years ago. And guess what he was fighting against? He was fighting against a Congress that opposed him tooth and nail on everything he tried to do. Does that sound familiar? He broke the monopoly of the railroads. He broke the monopoly of the mining companies. Does that all sound familiar? So switch the technologies of 100 years ago for the technologies of today. Switch the issues, but the basics are the very same. So I'm jumping around a bit here, but I figured you've had enough of the other stuff all day. I just want to give you the perspective from where I'm coming from. So to tie it back into your own business, to learning, to what can e-commerce or e-learning rather do, or technological advances, of course they can help. But it was very interesting to hear the last speaker say, at the end of the day, it's also quite enlightening and somewhat relieving to hear that still they need the humans. And as far as I'm concerned, in the end of the day, there will never be anybody out there as good as the best teacher we all had, and we all did have one at the end of the day. Because, let's face it, no matter how the technology is delivered, or whatever kind of technology it is, we're all human. And we want to hear it from somebody who A, is passionate, and B, can convey it in a reasonably interesting way to us all. So I think what we should do and are doing is maximize the use of technology, but what I would say is make sure you always have the human input into it and make it interesting for people. That way you get the best of both worlds. Thank you very much.
Very much, His Excellency, here for sharing that. You know, today's theme is for this Talent Development Summit 2014 is that we would like to link technology and talent, right, to the business success. Today we have service provider here, we have government official, we have companies that are, you know, needing the training, employers. So, from my perspective, sitting as a chairman of the Training Advisory Council that I used to chair now in the SME Corporation, right? We have 44 service providers that we provide grants to them so that SME can be encouraged to do their training. In fact, we really want the SME to be encouraged to do training, not in the hard skill itself, but also the soft skill. Those days, we are very much focused towards manufacturing, and that was MDeC days. So today, it is SME Corporation. So that covers the service provider as well. So what I'm trying to get at is that today, those grants that SME Corp have for the training provider, any SME that goes to any of these training provider, service provider that conduct the training for us, they are already given a grant, and SME just need to pay 30%. 70% it's already paid for them through the grant. So, but this today, we have moved that to HRDC because because HRDC has got 4,000, if I'm not mistaken, HRD, to conduct the training. So they have helped us. But now I'm chairing the committee called capacity building. So we want result now. Those days we encourage people. So we have assumed that people have got used to the idea of training to keep talents in the company, right? Now, keeping talent in the company, it's one thing, because a lot of the people that come and train, especially the SME, they cannot afford to send so many people. So they will assume that role as a trainer. They go back, they will try to train their downline. And this, in our case, is it is a form of knowledge management. But a lot of people do not handle this. Now, if I were to train my staff after some time, and I were to come for a training and go back, all right, and preach it to my staff, I may, well, first of all, they hate listening to my voice again, because, they would have heard my voice already in a meeting. So it is sometimes, a CEO is not really a good trainer also. So they must actually look at outsourcing that training. Even your HR are not able to do the training. Just now when I heard more on the talking about the training and all that, how to use IT to do the training is also a challenge. Now, I used to work for a multinational where we have the training in some of the top business schools, like London Business School, which I have received, in IMD in Lausanne, which I have been. But my job is that after when I come back and train from this training, I'm supposed to put this into practice. So to manage this is also not easy. How do I cascade that learning process down? So we are now looking at service provider helping to be able to help those that you train to be able to cascade what you have learned. Many a times we have many exhibitions in Malaysia or overseas, and the purchasing manager or one of the senior would go to the exhibition and would carry all this catalog back. All right, this is also another form of education. When they carry the catalog back, the catalog sits in the office and doesn't trickle downward. So the next exhibition comes, you get another set, almost the same. All right. So this is also another form of cascading the information and training. So trainers have to train on hard skill and soft skill, and also the technique on how to do the training, you are able to cascade down. This is our challenge. Yeah? So what I would like to do is, actually I'd like to ask Carol, that you are dealing now with young, the Gen Y. I know that the Gen Y do not like to hear people to teach them so much, They are a bit like a young man or young person in a hurry. Sometimes you sit them, you want to do the training and all that. They are busy, popping in and out of the meeting room. So we try all we can to keep them in the room, except we cannot bring the toilet in the room. Sometimes we even have a toilet, all right? But, we even ask them to leave their handphone outside, leave, no laptop, just follow what is in there, So the challenge is getting the young, the Gen Y's attention in the training, because they are going to be the implementer. They are going to implement, all right? So I know that you have a unique and aim. Maybe you need also to tell us what is the difference between unique and aim. When it first started, I know unique, then aim came into the picture, then finally Genovasi, all right? I am sure you have a very interesting task here, and please give us a bit of what do you do and how do you link this to sharing our talent.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Firstly, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me to be one of the panelists. Maybe I could briefly introduce Unique and AIM. Unique was initially formed, right, for the purpose of developing the national innovation strategy for the country, and also with a very specific time frame. In fact, as we speak now, UNIC has already been dissolved, because UNIC's main mission, right, was actually to start up the statutory body under the National Innovation Act. That is why AIM was established. So AIM itself is the statutory body implementing the National Innovation Strategy. So as of last year, end July, UNIC has been formally dissolved. So now AIM is the statutory body implementing the National Innovation Strategy. And one of the National Innovation Strategy include developing innovation in terms of the ecosystem. How can we continuously develop innovative human capital? That's why AIM has embarked on a number of initiatives that relate to innovation education program. It worked very closely with the Ministry of Education in implementing thinking maps. That is the iThink program, if you have heard of it. iThink program has been rolled out initially to 10 pilot schools, and last year it has been rolled out to 1,000 public schools. And they have a mission to roll out to another 9,000 schools in a couple of years. And in order to do that, just to share with you, it will require a lot of training of our public school teachers. That's why it has definitely used technology platform as a way to continuously transfer the knowledge to the teachers in order to implement at the public schools. So that is one of the programs implemented by AIM. Another program which I was fortunate to be involved is the IB program. For the thinking maps, right, is for both primary and secondary schools. That is the way of teaching using thinking maps. In addition to that, we have also worked with the Ministry of Education to implement IB standards as a way of teaching and assessment in the public school as well. So last year, it has first rolled out to 10 pilot schools as well. But at this stage, these 10 pilot schools is actually at the secondary school, and they are going through an IB candidacy phase. That means they have been approved by IBO to be a potential candidate to be authorized at IB World School. So just want to share with you that is only for the secondary public school, with a view to introduce international standards at our international standards as in teaching, learning, and assessment approach only. These schools will continue to have SPM as their primary, what you call that the high-stake exam. We'll still continue to have that. And it will also continue to use the national curriculum. It's just that the teaching method and the learning method will adopt the IB method, if you're familiar with IB method. So besides introducing innovation education program for public schools, as in primary and secondary schools, AIM has also looked into programs that will complement the tertiary education, as in what kind of innovation education program can we introduce to our tertiary graduates, as in our undergraduates. So therefore, back in 2012, we look at programs that would allow us to integrate the different education or academic or qualification from our universities, so that it will just complement the universities, not duplicating the university program. We found this program called Design Thinking. Design thinking is an approach to innovation based on human needs. We found this program at the Design Thinking School at Stanford University. And then we found out that this program is actually funded by Hasso-Plattner Institute. If you're familiar with Hasso-Plattner, who is the co-founder of SAP, the largest ERP company in the world. So we then went to approach HPI School of Design Thinking and introduce this design thinking program for our undergraduates. And therefore, Genovasi was established. The main purpose of Genovasi is to provide design thinking programs for young Malaysians, as in Gen Y, to equip them with innovation skills and knowledge based on design thinking approach, so that they can continuously look at a problem and solve it based on the design thinking approach. And I'm very fortunate that I had a lot of opportunity to work with Gen Y for this purpose. Because our learning method and our teaching method, right, will definitely able to engage them is because of the way the program is being delivered. The way we deliver the program is based on experiential learning. You don't learn alone, and you learn with people who come from different backgrounds. So we put them into teams, and the classroom setup itself, if you have an opportunity, you can go to our website and look at the classroom setup. It's certainly not based on the traditional classroom setup like what you have now. We put them into teams, and they would not be sitting on the kind of chairs that you're sitting. They'll be on, most of the time, on standing position. The purpose for this is in order to create more energy level while they learn about the techniques to generate awesome ideas. And we also push them out to the field to talk to real users in order to understand the problem. So you just don't study in the class. You will be expected to go out to interview real users to gain empathy in order to come up with the right ideas to resolve a real-world challenge. In addition, we don't make them prepare PowerPoint slides. Yeah. We get them to generate ideas and then make prototypes. That means you actually use materials like cardboards or papers or plastic bottles to actually create the ideas by making prototypes. And then we get them out on the field again to actually test the prototype. So our approach, right, is to continuously engage our future leaders to provide them with the opportunity to learn this approach, to become more confident of themselves to be creative. From our experience, most of the participants who join our program, when they first join our programs, they don't have the confidence that they could be creative, because our program is to create future innovators. So some of them felt that they may not have the right creativity or critical thinking skills to be able to do that. But the program itself actually brings out a lot of this creative confidence within themselves. How we go about doing it is because we make them work in a team. You don't work alone. So we emphasize a lot of collaborative teaming and collaborative learning, and then actually make your ideas more tangible. And one thing that we find Gen Y, which I heard the whole morning, is they like to be able to contribute back to the society and community. Some of the real-world challenge that we do, we get them to solve problems like, for example, how can we make the shopping car park safe? And how can we empathize with motorcyclists when they have to, how to redesign motorcyclist experience in sudden rain? We actually get them to talk to motorcyclists, and we found out a lot of the good insights, what we learned from a motorcyclist. A lot of us take motorcyclists for granted. So these are some of the examples, and some of the real-world challenge that we do a lot for NGOs as well. For example, one of them is like how to create a value of water among the urban, community. Because a lot of us, right, we take water for granted. Whereas there are a lot of villages or rural areas, they do not have access to clean water. So these are some of the examples of work that we have done, and it actually attracts a lot of the interest of Gen Y to participate in the program.
Thank you. Thank you for, after we invite Q&A, right, I will also comment that later. Maybe we pass it to Imran.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I'm one of the Gen Y which Carol has been pursuing, at least Gen Y by heart, at heart, not by age.
Can we also touch on the aging population here. In Malaysia, we have, you know, Gen Y is one thing. I think the Gen Y in Malaysia are very pampered.
Yep.
I will tell you a bit of the experience that I have with Myanmar and Cambodia and all the other country. All right? Yeah, but you please,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me. So I think this conference is very timely. Let me just start off with the why everyone is here until now. It's going to be 6. You know, be wondering the jam outside and so forth. You know, I think most of you here is because you know talent is a challenge. Correct? How many of you don't have any talent issues? Anyone? Looks like everyone don't have any issue. Okay. So as far as I know, talent issue is something that is here to stay. It is not something that you can overcome, whether at a country level, or global level, and so forth. So let us look at, I mean, probably some of you are HR practitioners. So if you look at the evolution of the HR practice, we started off those days as payroll officers. Then we upgraded ourselves into personnel management. Then from personnel management, it became human resource management. From human resource management, it evolved to human capital management. And now the sexy term is people managers. So I know some of you may be carrying chief people officer. You know, those days you had personnel managers, HR managers, human capital managers, and now is people manager. By the end of the day, ultimately you still need to manage talent. Okay? So coming back to the context of our conference today is technology. So technology, I think, has been part and parcel of the human resource or human management practice. Even those days when we talk about payroll management, you're bound to use softwares to run your payroll. So as the job evolves, then we had more input come from technology. So instead of just focusing on payroll, then we had even recruitment tools. You know, we use technology to assist in our recruitment. So we also, I'm sure most of you also use assessment tools to select candidates and identify the right talent pool that you wish to hire. So the point I want to stress is technology has been part and parcel of our day-to-day work, and it is not going to end. It's going to further assist in our job. Okay? That's why when Mr. Chair introduced me, so he was quoting, I was a generalist and a specialist, because our job has evolved so much. Those days, as a generalist, you do A to Z. You are the recruiter, you are the payroll officer, you are the training manager, you name it, you have to do everything. But now, the job has been broken into many, many tasks. So you become a specialist of IR, you become a specialist of probably on payroll, you become a specialist of learning and development and so forth. But at each of these specialization roles, there is a technology role. So technology plays an important role in the human capital. So I'm looking forward to what T-Circle has to offer, because he mentioned about the new software that is coming out. So I believe that will be a good assistance to further enhance, not only enhance the HR practitioner's job, but also to address the challenges they face in managing human capital. Because end of the day, as a human resource practitioner, you're bound to face issues. The line manager will come to you with all kinds of issues, and everything end up at the HR. For the line manager, they will always say, you are the one who hire the person, you manage the person as well. All we care is we need somebody who can do the job. So I believe technology is going to be a good assistance in doing our role. And I think one key thing that as a HR practitioner that you need to know is about selecting the right tool. So there are plenty of tools outside there. Sometimes we are so carried away with the tool. So I hear Carol was mentioning about SAP. You know, I know, how many of you know SAP? So the SAP you know and the SAP I know may be different. Because the SAP I know is suffer after purchase. I'm sure you have faced that. You buy certain applications, certain software to so-called assist you in the job, but end of the day, after you buy, then you realize that you are suffering more. I'm not against SAP. I'm a very staunch believer in SAP, the SAP system. I'm trained and user of SAP system. I'm just, the other acronym of SAP is suffer after purchase, where people suffer because they didn't buy the right tool. So the only advice I would like to share is before you purchase anything, do a full assessment of the system. Because there are plenty of things outside there. I'm not saying they are not good. They are good, but they are good in their own way. So not everything can solve, anything can solve all your problems. So you need to really assess the system, whether it fit in your needs and requirement, and then you make the purchase. So I don't want you to be SAP. Okay, so with that, I just take a pause. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Actually, linking technology and talent, this is actually the main theme. It is actually the challenge of the service provider. Many years ago, when I was managing, not many years, only recently that I've left the company, I worked for a very big multinational. And we train our technician how to walk about on some of the skill, all right? But before we put him on the site for practical training, so his training will be e-learning, you know, and we invest a lot on this. We invest a lot on not flying people around the world anymore, but more on using, you know, this, what do you call this, video conferencing type of training, yeah, and broadcast our training. And also that when we hire a talent, we get the talent to do this this test, right? What do you call this test? This psychometric test. So we send that to be marked in America or Canada, and it's sent back. Then we will know. And actually, sometimes these are very true of the talent that we are about to hire, or we have hired late. We will hire later on and all that. But the challenge is for big company, no problem. I work for big multinational, we are listed, you know, and all that, no problem. We invest in training talent, but keeping talent is a problem. Huh? We all have acknowledged that. So it's just like any club membership, whether you're an association, it's always retention and recruitment, and how to motivate people to stay. But getting people, talent to come in to your company is also the infrastructure. You get a Gen Y who is so high-tech come to your company and see all the infrastructure in the IT, you know, slow internet line and all that, he will give up, yeah. You know, we at one time tried to promote video conferencing and also training, but, you know, the line is so slow in Malaysia. They keep buffering until we get fed up, right? That it's cheaper to fly the guy in later on. So we have the infrastructure, we bought the latest state-of-art equipment. But it's the connection in Malaysia sometimes. Okay, I mentioned about Myanmar and all that. I'm the head of the ASEAN Engineering Register. So I go around ASEAN country to see some of the ASEAN members. And recently I spent quite a few days in Myanmar, and I invited one of our Malaysian organization, which I'm on the board. It's German Malaysian Institute, and they do technical education and vocational training. When I brought them, they were the only one in the exhibition of 100 over other company. Half of them, 70 companies Malaysian, the other half Myanmar company. Now Myanmar is, of course, opening up very enthusiastically. And I invited the Myanmar Industry Association president and his member to come and listen to GMI to promote technical education and vocational training. Now this is actually very in line with Malaysia. In Malaysia now we are moving towards low skill, medium skill to high skill. If you look at the ETP program, by 2020, we will be shifting more towards high skill. And this is actually promoted very much in SME Corp. All right, we have quite a lot of professional, actually, if you ask me, we got enough professional, but we want the blue collar. Now, Myanmar is leapfrogging into that. Myanmar, those people are very hungry, you know, they want jobs, all right? They don't have the problem we have. You know, if you give them that type of IT and that type of infrastructure, my God, they will be very happy. But they also say to me, we do not want to learn, we want to leapfrog whatever we have, or whatever you have in Malaysia, we want to be better than you. So they are very serious. For companies that were there at the exhibition, they are looking at how can we train these people, all right? When we invest in a country, Malaysian investing in Myanmar, right? How do we get this talent to go back to Myanmar? Now, the Myanmar people are willing to come here to be trained and then later send back to Myanmar to do the startup operation, but not the Malaysian, the other way around. Of course, you look at Myanmar and Malaysia, I don't blame you, you know. You like to be in Malaysia better. If you have been to the other country and all that, the infrastructure, the food and accommodation, so you prefer. But then they are saying that, Malaysians are saying that, okay, if we cannot, then we have to train these Myanmar people and Cambodian in our country. So we will have to think about this. There's a big business, if you ask me, in this type of training. You know, not only Malaysian, but the ASEAN people. Especially when we are going to be the ASEAN Economic Community in 2015, next year, where Malaysia will be the chairman, the chair for ASEAN. We will have to liberalize all our services, including education. The only thing that we have to tackle now is immigration. How do we tell immigration that these are the people that are coming here for training, and then we will send them back to Myanmar to work for our company? So we are trying to tackle this type of issue. So there is a big talent training in Myanmar for that, soft skill as well as hard skill. Now for hard skill, they cannot afford the machines like we have in GMI, where we spend millions. You know, we spent 300 over million building the whole 75-acre infrastructure. And we spent another 100 million equipping it with the state-of-art machine. We have all the CNC machine up to 5-axis and robotics. You can't afford to buy this type of machine. Your return on investment will never be there as a training school. You know, you can do classroom training. Most of you can only afford classroom training. But the real training in Malaysia is actually that type of skill. That type of skill. So how does company like Microsoft and all that use CAD system, use what they call modeling system, right, to train? A lot of people cannot afford. You know, we are training, well, like what you're doing now, are building up, Carol, building up those youngsters to be innovative, right? But they're okay with the brain, but they still need to put into practice. So today, what we are convincing some of the trainer and service provider is that go and train some of the certified, some of the Malaysia under the MLVK, under the Skill Malaysia, where they have a program called what they call prior approval, right? AP, where it is that you have already, I forgot the word already, where you have worked for many years, but you do not have a certificate. Prior learning, yeah, approved prior learning experience. Then train also some of these trainers to train these people. And this is actually a big part of the job for service provider. And you know that if you can service them in, today we have it in the Chinese chamber. They do that with Ministry of Human Resource under Skill Malaysia. They only certified these people for 4 types of courses. Tire repair, wireman, aircon repair, and plumbing. But we are going to expand this to many, many other fields. Because later when the Board of Technologies Act comes out, right, there are already more than 4,000 NOSH, National Occupational Skill Standards, that we have in Malaysia that eventually we would like to introduce this to be, some of them to be applicable to the industry in Malaysia. One day, the guy that works as a coffee shop in Kopitiam will need to have a certificate. Yes, like Germany. Like in Germany, the hairdresser needs to have a certificate. In fact, I'm on the Council of Skill Malaysia. We have enough standards. In fact, I've been asked to preach our standards into the ASEAN country. You know, they do not need to develop, they learn from Malaysia. So this opens up a big opportunity for service provider in Malaysia itself, that you do not concentrate only on Malaysian workforce. Malaysian workforce have to be on the higher skill, you know, competence learning, competency learning also, and also using internet to learn. Because some of this we are, the only problem, like I keep saying, is that, you know, we have to improve on the speed on our internet, yeah. But for the other country, like in Myanmar, I'm also very impressed. You know, for a country like that, the infrastructure is quite good. I just came back from Manila, like I say, you know, I invested my talent in the casino, those I've learned. So these days, I do not need technical skill, I need to see how to invest better. So casino is an interesting thing, you know. So what I'm saying is that the technology and the talent has to be human factor included, all right? The people that we are going to train, the people that we invest. The SME will always say, we do not want to train, or even some big company, because why? You'll be pinched the next day, somebody. But we have to keep filling up this pipe. We have to keep filling up, we have to keep training people. If we don't do that, our industry will never stay in Malaysia. But some of the industry today, under cross-border trade and also with technology, we do not need to keep talent in Malaysia. For example, I keep quoting Myanmar. They have a lot of very talented people who have got degrees. And I met one who is a taxi driver, and he was a chemical engineer in Singapore. Just that he don't have any more visa and work permit to work in Singapore, he came back as a taxi driver. So these are talented people that are, you know, Myanmar one day will, of course, if they harness their talent and if they're politically stable, they will be able to do some of the jobs that we are doing. So we are thinking about how do we train our people in Myanmar on the soft skill, for example, like engineering design, and then send our engineering fabrication work, engineering drawing over to them. They design it, send it back to our factory here, or our factory in the region, to do the fabrication work, physical work, all right? So these are the things that we have to think about. So maybe I would like to ask Wendy, how would you expand that on networking? I know that we will be cross-border. In fact, we are borderless these days, right? When it comes to this talent sharing and also training. Can I pass this mic?
Thank you, Chairman. I think for myself, I would just share experience coming from Microsoft, how we as a global company and how we have transformed from a software company to device and services, right? When we go through the transformations, there's a lot of change that we have within the organization itself. Change has been never new to us, and we are trained to be very adaptive to change. And one of the key things is because we are a technology company and we embrace deeply on e-learning and also classroom learning as well. And in part of the framework, in terms of developing talents or high performer, we believe in developing high performance team and also key talents, mainly because they are the key driver for us to motivate the rest of the people around us to be better and strive to be a performer as well. Because having a group of high performance team or highly motivated people around us, that brings positive energy and actually drive us to have more leadership within our organization and help us to drive to grow the business as well. One of the areas that we constantly do within our organization is we have regular trainings or readiness training for the roles and also change that we have within organization as regular as every quarter. So quarterly updates and trainings for us is a norm, and we go through e-learnings. And of course, besides that, as what we highlighted earlier in my sessions, is about how we intentionally develop a framework for developing talents. When we developing the framework for talents, we go very deeply understanding the role and responsibility for that individual when it comes to join us. When we hire someone from external or we bring in new people, fresh graduates from university, they can come from very diverse background and experience. So what we bring in is actually bring them to our culture and actually get them ready for the role. And as time goes by, we also develop a plan for them in terms of the career development. So that plan actually helps us to motivate them and show them the way on where we want them to be, and also develop the gap that they have so that they get constant learning and to become the next leader. So in Microsoft perspective, because we have invested quite heavily annually on technology, so we have built a lot of what we call intellectual properties on trainings, specifically on technologies that we have. So Microsoft, as you know, we have a lot of products, we have a lot of technology. So when we develop those IPs and technologies, we encourage people on really sharing and collaborate to use them and make the IP better every year. So this is actually still part of our performance management as well. So we constantly develop things and make things better so that we can improve and move on there rather than reinvent the wheel. Globally, all of us are being trained with the same framework and the same kind of technologies and knowledge. Coming from the Redmond, back in our head office down to the what I call subsidiary, the sales office, we are all been trained on the similar approach and knowledge as well. Of course, engineering team, we have in premier perspective, we have like presence in more than 50 countries, I think. And we have been in servicing our customer more than 30 years. And all our engineers are highly skilled up to the master level, really. And they are the one that we continuously put them on training program. And some of them, they learn through online. And how we actually get them to learn is basically not just go through the questionnaires, but there is a lot of labs that they develop, and also there's a lot of coaching behind the scene coming from Link and anywhere. So sometimes we also conduct, even last year we launched what we call education as a service for our customer. Customer or partners can go to sign up a seat with us, and they can go online anytime, anywhere, and to learn. And the kind of knowledge that we share with them is not just about the product itself. It's also about the few knowledge that we have learned from our customers, the challenges that we have learned from them, the issues that they have. We put it into a scenario and so labs so that they get to learn how to use the technology. They get to learn to experience the real life scenario of a problem and how to troubleshoot and solve them. So we have seen customers sign up for this, and the feedback from them is it was great, because it's not the traditional learning that they're expecting coming from us. It's basically like a real kind of classroom training where someone will run through the workshop with them. That will be labs ongoing as well, schedule a specific time, then they can go in and learn. So
okay, can I cut you short on that? Anyway, she already promoted her product already. So there's double promotion. So what I would like to say is that she has a service. I know that because they have templates and all that to even help business, isn't it? Small business on, yeah. Do you have that? I thought HP has that also for SME toolkit and things like that, where there will be software training on how to set up a business plan and how to set up a business. Those are important also. Some of your industry, they have this sort of software that are free, called SME Toolkit. If you go to the SME Corp site, we also have that helping small business style training. You know, training people how to do how to do a business plan, things like that. All right. Now, yes, today we talk about talent in general. We talk about corporation, they are big and they are small. But don't forget, in Malaysia, 98.5% of the 600 over 1,000 organizations are SME. So big company to invest in training, and their motivation, their enthusiasm is to keep talent. All right. But I think we also must look at the concern of the SME. Without the big multinational with the backbone of the industry, which are the SME cannot stay in Malaysia if we don't have talent also. So because why some of the second tier, first tier suppliers, even outsourcing company, you need some SME to help you with the shared service to our business. At the end of the day, IT plays a very important part. I've implemented SAP in my company, I know. I've implemented CRM, software, Salesforce, very good to monitor. Even the boss, the big boss in Europe can actually drill down into any figures he wants, depending on the level he's entitled. But being the top, he is entitled to all levels. So you can even look into the HR file of a company, look into a training program of a company. So these are all big companies they're able to do with that type of IT software that you have. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's already quite late in the evening. We started a bit late, but I'd like to actually make a close. But before I do that, can we open to the floor to questions from the floor to some of our distinguished speakers here? There's one here. Can you? Any to the panelists here, especially Carol here. She's looking at the future, the Gen Y that we are talking about. I won't say that in Malaysia we are very, very fortunate that we even have Genovasi looking into it. Actually, Genovasi must stand for Generation of Innovation. So we are already training our youngsters to think innovatively and creatively to, to bring them.
Yeah, no question. Can I ask a
yes,
question?
You may,
Maybe I can share some of the challenges. Just to share with you, right, the program that we deliver is actually government-sponsored, especially for the basic Innovation Ambassador Development Program. What we found, right, the challenge that we have, not many SMEs are willing to let go their staff to attend a government-sponsored programs. Maybe you could share your perspective of experience of some of the SMEs in Malaysia. I mean, their willingness to let their staff to attend government-sponsored program.
Even in SME Corp, we say that we have a grant. We have service provider throughout the whole country. And we even put any known skill that we think that we can train, even on training housewife to be entrepreneur on how to start a play school, for example, not really play school, one of the kindergarten, yeah. So we even train people on how to go into doing product certification, how to get ISO. So soft skill, even training people to advance in their welding skill, But yet, the uptake is actually, and this is the only free money that we say, grant that the government has, where you only pay 30%, But I understand if you are HRD, DC trainer, and some company, they can claim 100%, all right? But some SME, the micro one especially, they do not really contribute. So these are the avenue that they can go, But to keep the talent is actually a big issue about how to keep the talent. But training school today must be a bit more we prefer more of an interactive type. We prefer more, not lecture, not having PowerPoint type like you mentioned. I think today people will enjoy more if the training were more interactive, more workshop type, where role-playing type. Then that will be more meaningful for them to bring back. In fact, from our survey on some of the training, some of the courses that we have, we've done survey that for employer and employee. For employee, they love training, actually. You know, the feedback is very good. They say, we don't mind going for more training. But for the employer, they would like to say that, you know, what can they get this employee to do? So they want a return. You know, some employee, after they go for the training, they come back, they do not want to, you know, to do that skill they've been trained. So that is the frustration of the employer. So in Malaysia, I think it is always, how do you design your retention package also? So for big company, you can actually sit down and deal with the people through the people development program. I believe in the HR side, we talk about more on the personnel side, how to retain people. You sit with them on the individual development program. You know, you tell them that, okay, we love you so much, all right, for this year, we would like to have some training. What do you think there will be the training that is very beneficial for your job, that can bring you further in the company, all right? And some company, they will prefer that type of training to bring in trainers into the company, all right? That saves a lot of logistic work and all that. So they have training, if they can provide a facility for training, they don't mind. But in the technical skill, today we have the National Dual Training System, where you can train the people in your workplace. That is the German system. And there is actually a incentive in that area as well. So even in Malaysia, we provide all kinds of incentives, right, for training. It is actually the mindset. So I think that the other thing is educating the mind is one thing. We also need to educate people on the universal value and the good work ethics of the people. You know, our skill in Malaysia, selling point in Malaysia is the human factor. If we cannot, even if we give the best technical training, best IT training, best talent training, right, we still need to have the good mindset. So what is important is that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. Aristotle said that, right? So our people must take and value the training. It is through this training, like in Ireland, for example, you're bringing in talents back, right? You know, the people believe in the country and build up the economy, just like the German in the Eurozone are doing very well. It's because they are very passionate on the skill, you know? So, because we in Malaysia have enjoyed a very good living and all that, I keep comparing with the other less fortunate ASEAN country. If you ever visit, like today I was in Manila for a few days, you look at, they're coming up very quickly. Their growth is next to China. I think they have enjoyed 6 or 7% growth. And the way they keep going, they will overtake Malaysia. And they have a lot of talent there, you know. They are no different from us demographically, culturally. I look at it. So it is more of our Malaysian who have to change that, right? So I think that with her, she's doing a good job educating them from the young. But it has to start from the school. I'm very glad that those days we have Ministry of Education, Ministry of Higher Education. I was just saying that how do we butt them together, right? You know, because otherwise the Ministry of Education go on one direction, the Ministry of Higher Education go on one direction. Then because everybody gets a grant, everybody likes to do training. Ministry of Human Resource do training, Ministry of Education do training, all right? Then we have Women Entrepreneur, Ministry of Women also do training, Ministry of Youth also do training. So at the end of the day, our certification process is also a bit haywire. But I'm glad now the government may be looking at the Board of Technologies to try to accredit some of this properly. But even if we have laid down all these things, beautiful policy, we still have a problem with our implementation. You know, I think that you can only do so much as a Genovasi for only the schools that you select and all that. But it has to be an educational program. So I think most of you here are service provider that I can see, right? You must be in your training program, inculcate and get employers to be interested in training, and not because that the government have grant, that's why we do training, all right? I think that's mindset we should actually change, right? It should come from really that we would like to grow our business, that we need the talent to grow our business, that we really have to invest in people. UK had a very successful investor in people program. I think that there's no harm for us to really revisit that. So ladies and gentlemen, is there any more question? Yes, please. Please introduce yourself and question you would like to direct to any of the panelists.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm Ryan Chang from Nabat Solution, and I currently last year student from MMU Malacca. So actually, just now you young talent Y generation. So actually, past few years back, I was an IT club president for 2 years, and actually we have a big dream. It's coming out. It's called Umbrella Project. Okay, the idea that you mentioned just now is quite similar with what we think is we want to combine all the talent students in different universities. Now we have like MSP, Microsoft Student Partner, Google Ambassador, IBM Ambassador, even AMD Ambassador. So these ambassadors, actually what we think that time is we want to group all the universities like MMU Malacca, MMU Cyberjaya, Utah, Keita. We combine all the talent people and do one very big summit or conference, and we invite maybe like MDeC to Microsoft, the big firm IT companies to like giving out more inputs. Our companies like SME coming to find more talent people. So it's a umbrella project, combine all the talented students, big firm to give out more information, as SME company to find more talent students for like internship. So maybe this is my last year in MMU, and we can't going more forward because we are having limited resources. So maybe like in the future, maybe talent development summit can invite university students to participate. So at least currently I have company from companies, but some students, they are very talented, maybe like can do a student version and maybe can find more talented or can come up creative ideas from the summit. Thank you.
Your suggestion, right?
Yeah, it's more to suggestion because...
Anybody want to respond to that suggestion?
I think we are open for this sort of initiative because we realize all this information need to be shared while the students are at the universities itself. A lot of information need to be shared while they are still studying. It's sometimes, like what Carol has mentioned, we always face challenge with companies sending people for training. We ourselves in MDeC, we do a lot of training interventions, but we also did survey in terms of companies responding for training or even putting money aside for training. Only 30% of companies put aside money for talent development. That is the truth that everyone need to know. Only 30% put aside for investment on training. Even with that, they always see training as a flight risk. You know, the minute they say they want to send somebody for training, in their mind is, after this guy attend the training, he's going to leave my organization. He's going to move somewhere. So I think we have been also doing a lot of certification program. That is the biggest concern we always see. People or the employers see the risk of people attending training as a flight risk. So like what Mr. Chair has mentioned, we should see training as an investment, as a retention mechanism as opposed to training. So coming back to the university students, we are very supportive. Please write to us. We can look at in terms of how we can collaborate, work together to have this sort of initiative at your university or even in a bigger scale where we can congregate more participants from various universities in a bigger scale.
Thank you.
I think everyone here are open for that suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you. I think T-Circle can take note of that. it's a sequel now. Yeah, getting the university together and the college together as well. You know, besides the private service provider that are supplementing it, I think. What is actually very meaningful is that for those who are going to be participating in the RMK 11, the 11 Malaysian plan, that will take us from 2016 to 2020, right? If you have a chance to participate and add your information, add your whatever ideas there, please do it, because this will be under EPU. Then, of course, we are looking at what the government can provide, also grant and all that. But not necessarily grant, your idea, you know what? You know, I believe that today training need not be physically be there. I have gone through that. Training can be, you know, through, yeah, but the only thing is that the personal side of it, yeah. You know, we also have been session where we thought that people will be in the classroom and the guy talking on the other side, but nobody was in the class. Also, this is a matter of discipline in a company. You know, people must know that a lot of infrastructure have been invested. We also encourage the government to improve on the infrastructure on the internet so that we can use more of that for conferencing, for training and all that. But there are companies that provide very good software for training. You know, simple training like how to make cake and all that. It's also a good training, yeah. You can download that. Nowadays, a lot of apps you can download. So, but there's nothing like, you know, if you have a chance to learn from a trainer, efficient trainer, you know, it benefits a lot. But the training must be that we must also think about not being selfish, that we also need to have programs that are train the trainer type of programs also, right? So that more people can be involved in training. So I think what I like to say is that your life does not get better by chance. So it gets better by change. So we just now talk about managing change, right? With that, I think if there's nothing from Excellency, anything to add? Mr. Imran? Carol? Wendy? No? I think we'd like to thank the panelists and the speakers, and also we'd like to thank T-Circle for inviting us to this Talent Development Summit 2014, and of course to the members and participants here on the floor for your participation. If there's no question, I would like to then close the session and pass it on to the MC to close the event for the day. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for our Fantastic Five! All right, right now we'd like to call upon Mr. SK for some tokens of appreciation for 3 of our panelists here on stage. All right, first we have got our Ms. Carol, right? Ms. Carol Wong. His Excellency Declan Kelly. Mr. Muhammad Imran Kunalan Abdullah. Thank you very much again to all the panelists, as well as, of course, the moderator, Yang Berbahagia Dato Dr Andy Seo. Ladies and gentlemen, now we'd like to give the session to, of course, as usual, our Ms. Lim and Mr. Lee. They are going to conduct the lucky draw session. All right, we've got 3 to go, 3 last ones, okay? So please, Ms. Lee.